Hey crew, it's Pitt and I'm back with some more ancient lore. Today we are diving back into the works of Lady Augusta Gregory. This is Gods and Fighting Men, which is the history of the Tuatha De Danann and other figures in Irish history. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points that are brought to light by the text. It's not the format for everyone, but some people seem to find enjoyment in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. I don't know, again, that I'll have a whole lot to add to this. This one will probably be, again, more of a reading into the record than a discussion about things, because until I have assimilated the knowledge and I understand what is going on, I don't really tend to talk about them. But before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box below, along with the original source material, so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. With that being said, we are going to dive into and continue our exploration of Gods and Fighting Men. Now, the chronology on this one gets a little bit wonky. Let's look at it real quick. We did book 1 and 2, or part 1, book 1, part 1 and 2, and then we did part 1, book 2, part 1 and 2, but now we are going to do book 1, or part 1, book 3, part 1, and then go back to part 1, book 2, part 3. I don't know why they put it in this particular order. We will maybe find out as we go along, but they put it in that order, so that is the order we are going to do it in. I considered swapping them, but I'm not going to do that. And so, part 1, book 3, the Great Battle of Magh Tuireadh. Also, I am not going to be able to pronounce these names. They are outside of the scope of my capability. I will do the best that I can, but if that offends you, this is not going to be the place for you. And it was not long after Lugh had got the fine from the sons of Tuireann that the Fomor came and landed at Sketney. The whole host of the Fomor were come this time, and their king, Baelor, of the strong blows and of the evil eye, along with him, and Bres and Indec, son of Didelmanan, the king of the Fomor, and Elathan, son of Lobos, and Gol and Ingol, and Autrilach, and son of Indec, and Elathan, son of Delbeath. Then Lugh sent the Dagdas to spy out the Fomor, and to delay them till such time as the men of Ireland would come to battle. So the Dagda went to their camp, and he asked them for a delay, and they said he might have that, and then, to make sport of him, the Fomor made broth for him, for he had a great love of broth. So they filled the king's cauldron with 4 times 20 gallons of new milk, and the same of meal and fat, and they put in sheep and goats, or goats and sheep, and pigs along with that, and boiled all together, and then they poured it all out into a great hole in the ground. And they called him to it then, and told him that he should eat his fill, the way the Fomor would not be reproached for want of hospitality, the way that Bres was. We will make an end of you if you leave any part of it after you, said Indec, son of Didelmanan. So the Dagda took the ladle, and it big enough for a man and a woman to lie in the bowl of it, and he took out bits with it. The half of a salted pig and a quarter of lard a bit would be. If the broth tastes as well as the bits taste, this is good food, he said, and he went on putting the full ladle into his mouth till the hole was empty. And when all was gone, he put down his hand and scraped up all that was left among the earth and the gravel. Sleep came on him then after eating the broth, and the Fomor were laughing at him, for his belly was the size of a cauldron of a great house. But he rose up after a while, and heavy as he was, he made his way home. And indeed, his dress was no way sightly, a cape to the hollow of the elbows, and a brown coat, long in the breast and short behind. And on his feet brogues of horsehide, with the hair outside. And in his hand a wheeled fork it would take 8 men to carry, so that the track he left after him was deep enough for the boundary ditch of a province. And on his way he saw the battle-crow, the Morrigu, washing herself in the river Eunice of Connacht, and one of her 2 feet at Ulid Egni, to the south of the water, and the other at Lisgwyn, on the north of the water, and her hair hanging in 9 loosened locks. And she said to the Dagda that she would bring the heart's blood of Indic, son of Didamnan, that had threatened him to the men of Ireland. And while he was away, Lugh had called together the druids and smiths and physicians and lawmakers and chariot drivers of Ireland to make plans for the battle. And he asked the great magician Mathuchin, what could he do to help them? It is what I can do, said Mathuchin. Through my power, I can throw down all the mountains of Ireland on the Fomor until their tops will be rolling on the ground. And the 12 chief mountains of Ireland will bring you their help, he said, and I will fight for you. Sliabh Lag, and Dinda Ulad, and Bidnai Beno Boach, and Bri Ruri, and Sliabh Bladma, and Sliabh Snikte, and Sliabh Mis, and Blaise Sliabh, and Nimthan, and Sliabh Macabel Gundon, and Segos, and Cruachan Aigl. Then he asked the cupbearers what help they could give. We will put a strong thirst on the Fomor, they said, and then we will bring the 12 chief locks of Ireland before them, and however great their thirst may be, they will find no water in them. Derk Loch Luminic, Loch Orbson, Loch Rag, Loch Mitskara, Loch Quan, Loch Leg, Loch H, Loch Fibiel, Loch Decet, Loch Riach, and Morloch. And we will go, they said, to the 12 chief rivers of Ireland, the Boas, the Boyne, the Bana, the Nim, the Lewa, the Sion, the Mugh, the Sligic, the Samir, the Fion, the Rutik, and Seir. And they will all be hidden away from the Fomor, the way they will not find a drop in them. But as for the men of Ireland, they said, there will be drink for them, if they were to be in the battle to the end of 7 years. And Figel, son of Marnos the Druid, was asked what he would do. And he said, it is what I will do. I will cause 3 showers of fire to pour on the faces of the army of the Fomor. I will take from them 2/3 of their bravery and their strength, and I will put sickness on their bodies and on the bodies of their horses. But as to the men of Ireland, he said, every breath they breathe will be an increase of strength and bravery to them. And if they are 7 years in the battle, they will never be any way tired. Then Lugh asked his 2 witches, Buchel and Dianan, what power can you bring to the battle? It is easy to say that, they said. We will put an enchantment on the trees and the stones and the sods of the earth, till they become an armed host against the Fomor, and put terror on them and put them to the rout. Then Lugh asked Carpre, the poet, son of Etain, what he could do. It is not hard to say that, said Carpre. I will make a satire on them at sunrise, and the wind from the north, and I on a hilltop in my back to a thorn tree, and a stone and a thorn in my hand. And with that satire, he said, I will put shame on them and enchantment, the way they will not be able to stand against fighting men. Then he asked Wabneo, the smith, what he would be able to do. I will do this, he said, if the men of Ireland stop in the battle to the end of 7 years. For every sword that is broken, and for every spear that is lost from its shaft, I will put a new one in its place. And no spear point that will be made by my hand, he said, will ever miss its mark. And no man it touches will ever taste life again. And that is more than Dold, the smith of the Fomor, can do, he said. And you, Credne, Lugh said then to his worker in brass, what help can you give our men in battle? It is not hard to tell that, said Credne. Rivets for their spears, and hilts for their swords, and bosses and rims for their shields. I will supply them all. And you, Lugh, he said then to his carpenter, what will you do? I will give them all they want of shields and of spear shafts, said Lugh. Then he asked Dianakict, the physician, what he would do. And it is what he said, every man that will be wounded there, unless his head is struck off or his brain or his marrow cut through, I will make him whole and sound again for the battle of the morrow. Then the Dagda said, those great things you are boasting you will do, I will do them all, with only myself. It is you are the good God, said they, and they all gave a great shout of laughter. Then Lugh spoke to the whole army and put strength in them, so that each had the spirit in him of a king or a great lord. Then, when the delay was at an end, the Formour and the men of Ireland came on towards one another till they came to the plain of Magh Tuireadh. That now was not the same Magh Tuireadh where the first battle was fought, but it was to the north, near Dara. And then the two armies threatened one another. The men of Ireland are daring enough to offer battle to us, said Bres to Indech, son of the Domnan. I will give my word, said Indech. It is in small pieces their bones will be, if they do not give in to us and pay their tribute. Now the men of Dea had determined not to let Lugh go into battle because of the loss his death would be to them. And they left 9 of their men keeping watch on him, and on the first day none of the king's apprentices went into the battle, but only the common fighting men, and they fierce and proud enough. And the battle went on like that from day to day with no great advantage to one or the other side. But there was a wonder on the Formour on account of one thing. Such of their weapons as were broken or blunted in the fight lay there as they were, and such of their own men as were killed showed no sign of life on the morrow. But it was not so with the Tuatha De Danann, for if their men were killed or their weapons were broken today, they were as good as before on the morrow. And this is the way that happened. The well of Sliein lay to the west of Magh Tuireadh, in the east of Loch Arbog. And Dianakect and his son Octruil and his daughter Earmund used to be singing spells over the well and to be putting herbs in it. And the men that were wounded to death in the battle would be brought to the well and put into it as dead men, and they would come out of it whole and sound through the power of the spells. And not only were they healed, but there was such fire put into them that they would be quicker in the fight than they were before. And as to the arms, it is the way that they were made new every day. Gwabnio, the smith, used to be in the forge making swords and spears, and he would make a spearhead by 3 turns. And then Lugh, the carpenter, would make the shaft by 3 cuts, and the 3rd cut was a finish, and would set it in the ring of the spear. And when the spearheads were struck in the side of the forge, he would throw the shaft and the rings the way they would go into the spearhead and want no more setting. And then Coredni, the brazier, would make the rivets by 3 turns and would cast the rings of the spears to them, and with that they were ready and were set together. And all this went against the Formour, and they sent out one of their young men to spy about the camp and see if they could find out how these things were done. It was Ruadan, son of Bres and of Brigit, daughter of the Dagda, they sent, for he was a son and grandson of the Tuatha De Danann. So he went and saw all that was done and came back to the Formour. And when they heard his story, it is what they thought, that Gwabnio, the smith, was the man that hindered them most. And they sent Ruadan back again and bade him make an end of him. So he went back to the forge, and he asked Gwabnio would he give him a spearhead, and then he asked rivets of Coredni, and the shaft of the carpenter, and all was given to him as he asked. And there was a woman there, Cron, mother to Fionlugh, grinding the spears. And after the spear was given to Ruadan, he turned and threw it at Gwabnio, that it wounded him. But Gwabnio pulled it out and made a cast of it at Ruadan, and it went through him, and he died. And Bres, his father, and the army of the Formour saw him die. And then Brigit came and keened her son with a shrieking and with crying. Well, you shouldn't have sent him in to be an assassin. And as to Gwabnio, he went into the well and was healed. But after that, Octruil, son of Indech, called the Formour, and bade each man of them to bring a stone of the stones of Durinnis, and throw them into the well of slain. And they did that till the well was dried up, and a cairn raised over it, that it is called Octruil's cairn. And it was while Gwabnio was making spearheads for the battle of Magh Tuireadh, a charge was brought against his wife. And it was seen that it was heavy news to him, and the jealousy came to him. And it is what he did. There was a spear shaft in his hands when he heard the story. Ness, its name was, and he sang spells over the spear shaft. And anyone that was struck with that spear afterwards, it would burn him up like fire. And at last the day of the great battle came, and the Fomor came out of their camp and stood in strong ranks. And there was not a leader or a fighting man of them without good armor to his skin, and a helmet on his head, a broad spear in his right hand, a heavy sword in his belt, a strong shield on his shoulder. And to attack the army of the Fomor that day was to strike the head against a rock, or to go up fighting against a fire. And the men of Dea rose up and left Lugh and his 9 comrades keeping him, and they went on to battle, and Midhir was with him, and Bobdirg and Danik, and Babd and Makkah and the Morrigu called out that they would go along with them. And it was a hard battle was fought, and for a while it was going against the Tuatha De Danann, and the Wada of the Silver Hand their king, and Macha, daughter of Enmus, fell by Balor, king of the Fomor, and Casmael fell by Austrelec, and the Dagda got a dreadful wound from a casting spear that was thrown by Sithlin, wife of Balor. But when the battle was going on, Lugh broke away from those that were keeping him, and rushed out to the front of the men of Dea. And then there was a fierce battle fought, and Lugh was heartening the men of Ireland to fight well, the way they would not be in bonds any longer. For it was better for them, he said, to die, protecting their own country, than to live under bonds and under tribute any longer. And he sang a song of courage to them, and the host gave a great shout as they went into battle. And then they met each other, and each of them began to attack the other. And there was a great slaughter and laying low in graves, and many comely men fell there in the stall of death. Pride and shame were there side by side, and hardness and red anger. And there was red blood on the white skin of young fighting men. And the dashing of spear against shield and sword against sword, and the shouting of the fighters, and the whistling of casting spears, and the rattling of scabbards, was like a harsh thunder through the battle. And many slipped in the blood that was under their feet, and they fell, striking their heads against one against another, and the river carried away bodies of friends and enemies together. Then Lugh and Balor met in battle, and Lugh called out reproaches to him, and there was anger on Balor, and he said to the men that were with him, "Lift up my eyelid till I see this chatterer that is talking to me." And then they raised Balor's eyelid, but Lugh made a cast of his red spear at him, that brought the eye out through the back of his head, so that it was towards his own army it fell. And 3 times 9 of the Fomor died when they looked at it. And if Lugh had not put out that eye when it did, the whole of Ireland would have burned in one flash. And after this, Lugh struck his head off. As for Endek, son of Dedomnan, he fell and was crushed in the battle, and blood burst from his mouth. And he called out for Leotglas, his poet, as he lay there, but he was not able to help them. And then the Morrigu came into the battle, and she was heartening the Tuatha De Danann to fight the battle well. And as she had promised the Dagda, she took the full of her 2 hands in Endek's blood, and gave it to the armies that were waiting at the foot of Unius. And it was called the Fort of Destruction from that day. And after that it was not a battle any more, but a rout, and the Fomor were beating back to the sea. And Lugh and his comrades were following them, and they came up with Bress, son of Elathan, and no guard with him, and he said, "It is better for you to spare my life than to kill me. And if you spare me now," he said, "the cows of Ireland will never go dry." "I will ask an advice about that from our wise men," said Lugh. So he told Maeltan Brektat of the great judgments what Bress was saying after saying. But Maeltan said, "Do not spare him for that, for he has no power over their offspring, though he has power so long as they are living." Then Bress said, "If you spare me, the men of Ireland will reap a harvest of corn every quarter." But Maeltan said, "The spring is for plowing and sowing, and the beginning of summer for the strength of corn, and the beginning of autumn for its ripeness, and the winter for using it." "That does not save you," said Lugh, then to Bress. But then to make an excuse for sparing him, Lugh said, "Tell us what is the best way for the men of Ireland to plow, and to sow and to reap." "Let their plowing be on a Tuesday, And they're casting seed into the field on a Tuesday, and they're reaping on a Tuesday, said Bress. So Lugh said that it would do, and he let him go free after that. It was in this battle Ogma found Orna, the shield, the sword of Tethra, the king of the Fomor, and he took it from his sheath and cleaned it. And when the sword was taken out of the sheath, it told all the deeds that had been done by it, for there used to be that power in swords. And Lugh and the Dagda and Ogma followed after the Fomor, for they had brought away the Dagda's harp with them, that was called Uatang. And they came to a feasting house, and in it they found Bress and his father Elthin. And there was a harp hanging on the wall, and it was in that harp the Dagda had bound the music, so that it would not sound until he would call to it. And sometimes it was called Dur da Blah, the oak of two blossoms, and sometimes Quar Sethar Chuen, the four-angled music. And when he saw it hanging on the wall, it is what he said, "Come summer, come winter, from the mouths of harps and the bags and pipes." Then the harp sprang from the wall and came to the Dagda, and it killed 9 men on its way. And then he played for them the 3 things harpers understand, the sleepy tune, and the laughing tune, and the crying tune. And when he played the crying tune, their tearful women cried, and when he played the laughing tune, till their women and children laughed, and then he played the sleepy tune, and all the hosts fell asleep, and through that sleep the 3 went away, through the Fomor would have been glad to harm them. And when it was all over, the Dagda brought out the heifer he had got his wages from Bress at the time he was making his dun. And she called to her calf, and at the sound of her call all the cattle of Ireland the Fomor had brought away as tribute were back in their fields again. And say, the Druid of Nuada of the Silver Hand was wounded in the battle, and he went southward till he came to Cam Corslib. And there he sat down to rest, tired with his wounds, and with the fear that was on him, and the journey. And he saw a smooth plain before him, and it was full of flowers. And a great desire came on him to reach that plain, and he went on till he came to it, and there he died. And when his grave was made there, a lake burst out over it, and over the whole plain, and it was given the name of Loch Say. But there were but 4 men of the Fomor left in Ireland after the battle, and they used to be going through the country, spoiling corn and milk and fruit and whatever came from the sea, till they were driven out one Samhain night by the Morrigu and by Angus Og, that the Fomor might never be in Ireland again. And after the battle was won and the bodies were cleared away, the Morrigu gave out the news of the great victory to the host, and to the royal heights of Ireland, and to its chief rivers and its invers. And it is what she said, "Peace up to the skies down to earth, and earth under the skies, strength to everyone." And as to the number of men that fell in the battle, it will not be known till we number the stars of the sky, or flakes of snow, or the dew on the grass, or grass under the feet of cattle, or the horses of the son of Lear in a stormy sea. And Lugh was made king over the men of Dea then. It was at Nas he had his court. And while he was king, his foster mother, Tealte, mother of Magmor, the great plain, died. And before her death she bade her husband, Duach the Dark, he that built the fort of hostages in Tamer, to clear away the wood of Quan. The way there would be a gathering of the people around her grave. So she called till the men of Ireland cut down the wood with their wide-bladed knives and bill hooks and hatchets. And within a month the whole wood was cut down. And Lugh buried her in the plain of Mid, and raised a mount over her that is to be seen to this day. He ordered fires to be kindled and keening to be made, and games and sports to be held in the summer of every year out of respect to her. And the place where they were held got its name from her, that is Tealton. And as to Lugh's own mother, that was tall, beautiful Ethlin, she came to Tamer after the Battle of Magh Tuireadh, and he gave her in marriage to Tagd, son of Nuada. And the children that were born to them were Muirne, mother of Finn, the head of the Fianna of Ireland, and Tuireann, that was mother of Bran. And that's going to bring us to the end of, this was book 1, part 3. Part 1, Book 3, Part 1. And now we're going to jump over to Part 1, Book 2, and finish up the story that we started yesterday. The Hidden House of Lugh. And after Lugh had held the kingship for a long time, the Dagda was made king in his place. And Lugh went away out of Ireland. And some said that he died at Uisneach, the place where the 5 provinces meet, and the first place there was ever a fire kindled in Ireland. It was by Mid, son of Brath, it was kindled, and the sons of Nimid, and it was burning through 6 years. And it was from that fire every chief was kindled in Ireland. But Lugh was seen again in Ireland at the time of Conchobar, and the men of the Red Branch went following Whitebird southward to the Boyne, at the time of Cuchulain's birth. And it was he came and kept watch over Cuchulain in his 3 days' sleep at the time of the war for the bull of Cuchulain. And after that happened, he was seen by Conn of the 100 Battles. And this is the way that happened. Conn was in Timor one time, and he went up in the early morning to the wrath of the kings at the rising of the sun, and his 3 druids with him, Maol and Block and Buichi, and his 3 poets, Ithane and Corb and Cessarn. And the reason he had for going up there with them every day was to look about on every side, the way if any men of the Cid would come to Ireland, they would not come unknown to him. And on this day he chanced to stand upon a stone that was in the rath, and the stone screamed under his feet, that it was heard all over Timor and as far as Bragia. And then Conn asked his chief druid how the stone came there, and what it screamed for. And the druid said he would not answer that till the end of 53 days. And at the end of that time Conn asked him again, and it is what the druid said. The Lea Fael is the name of the stone. It is out of Phalius it was brought, and it is in Timor it was set up, and in Timor it will stay forever. As long as there is a king in Timor, it is here will be the gathering place for games. And if there is no king to come to the last day of the gathering, there will be a hardness in that year. And when the stone screamed under your feet, he said, the number of the screams it gave was a foretelling of the number of kings of your race that would come after you. But it is not I myself will name them for you, he said. And while they were in the same place, there came a great mist about them and a darkness, so that they could not know what way they were going. And they heard the noise of a rider coming towards them. It would be a great grief to us, said Conn, to be brought away into a strange country. And then the rider threw 3 spears at them, and every one came faster than the other. It is the wounding of a king, indeed, said the druids, any one to cast at Conn of Timor. The rider stopped casting his spears on that, and they came to them and bade Conn welcome, and asked him to come to his house. They went on then till they came to a beautiful plain, and there they saw a king's rath, and a golden tree at its door, and inside the rath a grand house with a roof of white bronze. So they went into the house, and the rider that had come to meet them there before them in his royal seat, and there had never been seen a man like him in Timor for his comeliness or for beauty, or the wonder of his face. And there was a young woman in the house, having a band of gold on her head, and a silver vessel with hoops of gold beside her, and it full of red ale, and a golden bowl on its edge, and a golden cup at its mouth. She said then to the master of the house, Who am I to serve drink to? Serve it to Cairn of the 100 Battles, he said, for he will gain 100 battles before he dies. And after that he bade her to pour out the ale for Art of the 3 Shouts, the son of Conn, and after that he went through the names of all the kings of Ireland that would come after Conn, and he told what would be the length of their lifetime. And the young woman left the vessel with Conn, and the cup and the bowl, and she gave him along with that the rib of an ox and of a hog. 24 feet was the length of the ox rib. And the master of the house told them that the young woman was the kingship of Ireland forever. And as for myself, he said, I am Lugh of the Long Hand, son of Ethlin. And that is going to end this part. That was a short one. This was Part 1, Book 2. And that is going to end today's study. We will be coming back with a continuation tomorrow with 2 more sections. I don't have a whole lot to add to this, so hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to something I didn't really add to. This is more about reading into the record. It's more about me getting the information and assimilating it and understanding the stories and the myths in a more fundamental way. It's better for me to read it aloud than it is to read it to myself, so I might as well share it with the crew. Some people seem to be finding enjoyment in it, and you are more than welcome to tag along. I don't know that if anywhere's in this study that I'm going to have more to add to it, but it is something we're going to do regardless. Well, even if I don't have things to add, there is still value to be gained. Right? That is the point of doing this. And so, if you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment if you agree or disagree with any particular part. As long as it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If you have another work that you would like to see read aloud or discussed in the manner that we are doing this, leave that in the comments as well. If you really like what I'm doing over here, hit me with that super thanks. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pit Steak. Peace.